Welcome to Miami.
Florida. The Sunshine State is famous for its oranges, its theme park economy, and a lot of other seaside cliches. Its 22 million residents are governed from the capital in Tallahassee, and more than 20% of Florida is over 65.
And thanks in part to its low cost of living, there's no personal income tax here, for example. It's the country's fastest growing state, going from 10 electoral votes in the 50s to 30 today. That's the third most in the nation after blue California and red Texas.
For decades, Florida was seen as the ultimate swing state, known for its impossibly close elections. In 2000, George Bush beat then Vice President Al Gore by just 537 votes.
Good grief, look at that.
11, that means automatic recount.
But in the past few years, Florida has shifted from purple to flaming red. A lot of that is due to Donald Trump, who made it a Republican mecca, setting up his winter White House here in Mar-a-Lago before officially moving to Florida in 2019. But that's not all.
During the pandemic, Governor Ron DeSantis declared the free state of Florida, refusing to lock it down. That brought in record numbers of Republicans. They came here seeking refuge from stricter policies in their home states.
DeSantis went even further, pushing the farthest right policies of the GOP, a political war against wokeness.
We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob.
And something else gave Florida Republicans the edge. When Barack Obama first won Florida, there were 700,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans. After Obama's re-election in 2012, the Republicans panicked and made Florida a national priority. They played the long game, recruiting candidates that went from local to state office and poured cash into voter registration. It took 10 years, but they finally surpassed the Democrats. The biggest focus was on Latinos. More than a quarter of Florida is Latino, mainly from Cuba, and Republicans went after them hard with ads linking Joe Biden to socialist dictators. The strategy worked. In the 2022 midterms, Republicans had a weak showing across the U.S., but in Florida, it was a red wave.
So we not only won election, we have rewritten the political map.
But what if 2024 is different? A planned referendum on abortion could whip up Democratic fervor like elsewhere in the United States. And after years of financial neglect from the National Party, they're now pouring money into the Latino vote with Spanish-language voter drives, candidates, and ads.
Who knows if all that will pay off? But the recent upset win of a Democratic mayor in the conservative city of Jacksonville could be a sign that red Florida still has a bit of blue in it yet.
I am a proud Latina. I'm a former Congresswoman, and I am running to defeat Rick Scott. So who's with me?
Debbie Mucarsel-Powell moved to the U.S. from Ecuador when she was just 14. Her Senate run is now focused on issues like health care, gun safety, abortion, and getting the Democrats' message across.
There's definitely a lot of disinformation that we have seen, and the Republicans have been targeting that disinformation to Latinos specifically here in South Florida and all over the country. They're blaming right now the president, the current president, on all the economic issues. And for Latinos, it's hard right now. The cost of living is very, very high. But the reality is that the current administration and Democrats, we're the ones that are doing everything in our power to reduce inflation.
In 2020, the Democrats lost Florida largely because of the Latino vote. Do you admit that the Democrats maybe dropped the ball on Florida 4 years ago? And if so, what are they doing now to win?
Look, there were a lot of things that happened in 2020, including COVID, right? Many people were isolated in their homes. They were suffering. A lot of the businesses were shut down. We just have to make sure that we're reaching our voters, including Latino voters, reminding them of what we stand for and what we're doing to work for them. Latinos want to work. They don't want anyone giving them handouts, and we are the ones, Democrats are the ones that are fighting for that.
But that message is not out there. A recent poll says Donald Trump would easily defeat Joe Biden among Latino voters in Florida.
These are most of the earrings, stainless steel, gold-plated.
Many Florida Latinos, like business owner Fanny Lopez, are convinced things are only getting worse.
The economy, I think, was better under Trump than now. So yes, my business I believe it would be better again. As of right now, interests are high, inflation is crazy, people are scared, people are unsure of what's gonna happen. So it affects on their spending abilities.
The economy is one of the main arguments of Trump voters in Florida, but it's not the only one.
No sé si entra por ahí.
Trump's strong anti-immigration rhetoric may push Latino voters to vote Democrat elsewhere in the country, but in Florida, it helped him win the state in 2016 and 2020.
I think we are on board with him on immigration laws, even though a lot of people think it's like a weird subject coming from Latinos. But we are grateful to be here. We're grateful for the opportunity. We welcome new people just the right way. There are a lot of illegal aliens here, and most of them are entitled.
The Latino Republican vote was so strong during the last midterms, it helped flip the massive Miami-Dade County, what was once known as the blueberry in Florida's cherry pie.
Hola, hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos todos. Feliz miércoles. Se abren las puertas del rancho anticomunista del chisme y hemos comenzado.
Alex Otaola fled Cuba 20 years ago and is staunchly opposed to the Cuban regime. So much so, he's now on Havana's list of accused terrorists. His platform, live broadcast from his Florida garage.
Estamos en mes de recaudación.
The controversial YouTube star is credited with getting his hundreds of thousands of young Cuban-American followers to vote for Trump's Florida win in 2020.
What do you like about Donald Trump so much? You've met him a few times, you've interviewed him.
I like his character. I like that he didn't need politics to make his money. He didn't profit from politics like other politicians do. He's a father, a businessman, and a patriot. He loves his country more than anything else.
For years, the openly gay influencer was a Democrat. But in 2016, Barack Obama's historic visit to Cuba pushed him toward Trump. Like for many other Cuban Americans, the warming of relations between the two countries was a red line the Democrats crossed.
When Jill Biden visited Havana in Cuba to learn about the health system under a Cuban dictator, I realized that the U.S. Democratic Party does not represent America's real values.
But there's a bit of a contradiction there. For example, take the city of Hialeah, just outside Miami. Now, that city has many Venezuelans and Cuban Americans who lean toward the right, and yet it also has the highest enrollment of Obamacare in the nation. How do you explain that?
I don't think having adequate health care is something that belongs to either the socialists or the right. I think it was self-centered for Obama to put his own name on a service that should be for all Americans.
Otaola is now hoping to follow in the footsteps of his hero. He's currently running for mayor of Miami-Dade County and hoping for a win this August. And while Donald Trump may be the front-runner in Florida, he doesn't have all Republicans on board.
And look how MAGA does people. The GOP needs to decide what, if anything, they stand for.
Chris Nelson is what's known as a never-again Trumper, even though he voted for Donald Trump twice. He was turned off by what he calls Trump's mismanagement of the COVID crisis and his refusal to admit he lost the 2020 election.
We're tired of his lies. We're tired of our party being dominated by him. We're tired of his failures. We're tired of his legal drama. And I guess people just expected that when Ron DeSantis dropped out that we were all just going to line up behind Donald Trump. Well, we're not.
Nelson was a fervent backer of the Florida governor before he quit the race. His candidate now is Robert Kennedy Jr. The nephew of former President John F. Kennedy is an independent known for his anti-vaccine stance during the pandemic.
I trust him. I trust he believes what he says. And I just hope that he doesn't fall into the trap of thinking that he needs to impress Trump's base.
So far, the cash-strapped Kennedy has only qualified to be on a few state ballots. And with former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley dropping out of the race as well, the only real fight for Joe Biden now is Donald Trump. Here on the tiny island of Key Biscayne, these Democrats are texting and sending personalized postcards to neighbors and friends, encouraging them to register to vote.
We're going to send them a friendly text message, okay? And we're saying, hello, Key Biscayne Democrats, we want you to vote, okay?
President Biden has done a great job. We support him. So, I mean, we're also in favor of someone winning, not just fighting against this jerk who none of us can stand.
So absolutely right.
A big focus of their campaign, younger voters. This year, Gen Zers and millennials will make up more eligible voters than both Gen X and boomers. The hard part is getting them signed up.
Many times the answer is, oh no, I haven't gotten around to it, or no, I don't like politics. And I say to them, well, you know, in your generation right now, you are facing an abortion ban. Do you know that you don't even have the choice to decide your futures? Your vote really matters. And then they start, you know, coming alive, and I say, let's get you registered right now.
All right, let's say Trump wins in November. How will you feel? What will you do?
Move to France.
All joking aside, for these Democrats, this year's election is serious stuff. And as the November 5th battle approaches, all they can do now is hope their message delivers.